Welcome to Urban Fantasy PH. We are creatives who live in an urban society and give readers wish fulfillment by way of our stories, which is fantasy but reflective of reality. Here, we get to talk to fellow creatives like writers, authors, artists, comic book creators, filmmakers, you name it. We create and share our art here in the Philippines as well as abroad. My name is CJ Edmunds, I'm your host, and here is today's episode.
All right, good morning. Happy Wednesday and welcome to a brand new season. This is episode 22 of the podcast, and we are beginning our fourth season today. Oh my goodness, fourth season. And we would not be here today if it is not for your continued patronage. So thank you so much. Another season for Urban Fantasy PH. Now our show is aired every Wednesday, both for Spotify and for our YouTube channel. You have the option, of course, to listen or watch us. We give you that choice. And whether you're listening or watching, just please click the subscribe button and ring the bell so you do not miss a single episode and you will be notified when a new one comes along. Now, today on the show, we have an independent comic creator whose self-published comic, Maskot, was adapted into a short live-action short film. That starred Ketchup, Eusebio and Allesandra de Rossi, and it was screened here as well as abroad in Germany. Now, the kind of comics that he makes are the kind that we love reading about. Now, it may vary from zombies by way of another comic that's entitled School Run, which is a post-apocalyptic zombie story set in the country. And his other works can also involve, homicidal police rabbits and probably a giant monster living under Taal volcano. Could this be a kaiju on Philippine shores? And he has seen proof. I don't know. We need to ask him. So let's bring him in and let's say hello and good morning to Macoy. Hello, Macoy, and welcome to Urban Fantasy PH. Thank you so much for saying, thank you for saying yes and for opening our brand new season along with us.
Nice.
And I met you this year at Katipunan when I joined Comic-Con during the summer.
Mhm.
And I love it when the community celebrates its own and makes an effort not only to recognize its members, but also share the work to those who have the same interest or may have yet to discover your work. And I was wondering, as an indie, do you still remember the day when you discovered the medium of comics? And was it something that you stumbled upon your own, or did someone introduce a particular comic to you? And just in case, would you still remember what that comic is or was?
You mean like Filipino comics or comics in general?
I comics in general, yeah.
Comics in general. Let's see. I grew up during the '80s, and at that time, there would be just comics everywhere. The cheap curbside newspaper stand comics. They'd be everywhere. They'd be in houses, business establishments. So I grew up absorbing that, reading local comics. But I think the first comic that made me go, "Wow, what is this?" is probably Asterix.
Okay.
There was my school had a nice library for its size, and there was these big, colorful comics about these funny barbarians living in ancient France, and I loved the art. It was funny. There was a little bit of history there, so I was learning a little bit. And yeah, that was probably like the first, aside from local comics and newspaper comics, that was the first time that made me go, "Wow, this is something different. This is special."
All right. Did you have anybody, let's say, read a comic to you when you were growing up, and did you like it, or do you still prefer to just simply read it for yourself, just you alone in the room, and allow the discovery, the story to unfold for you in your own time?
And now I was basically mostly by myself when I was a kid. I didn't have many friends. I spent all my time reading or watching TV.
Okay.
So yeah, it was just me reading stuff, and I started reading a little earlier than my peers. So there wasn't much. There was anyone to like talk about things. I was just reading.
Just reading. Okay,
Yeah.
that's all right. I mean, reading, yes, is indeed a solitary thing that creatives love, and as a creative, we all begin uh, discovering things by way of reading. And
Yep.
I guess looking back, it's that simple act of a story, being told to us. Apart from reading, that is, instilled the appreciation, let's say, for character
Oh
and
yeah.
place and
Mhm.
and setting. And as a creative, would you remember the very first thing that you drew and wrote? I assume that it's not just ang mascot; it's something else, before that.
I've been drawing since I was a little kid.
Oh,
I would
okay.
ask my mom to like draw me Superman. Then she'd draw like a little Superman, and I thought, oh my god, this is amazing. It's it's just a blank piece of paper, and then suddenly
Mm-hmm.
Superman's there. It's like magic. I've been drawing that kind of thing ever
Mm-hmm.
since, like in the back of notebooks during exams. When I'm done with the exam, I draw on the back side of the paper. Um, but like the first time I actually tried making a serious comic, like multiple pages.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, it was in college because, well, here's something that I haven't discussed. Here's a story I've never told yet. Budget Tan went
Mm,
to our school. He gave a talk at our school when I was in college,
nice.
and he talked about he was working on Batch 72 at the time, which was like a Marcus era superheroes kind of thing. So, Marcus era kids of the Marcus era became superheroes. That was the plot of the comic, and that was the first time that I saw an indie comic. Like he showed us, he gave us copies, and it's just bond paper with photo stapled in the middle, photocopied. But it was comics. It was their own
Yeah.
idea. I think he was working with Arnold Are at the time. Arnold Are did the art, and Baja wrote it. And that was the first time I saw an indie comic. I I've been reading comics for years, a decade, but I never thought I could make my own. Like, it just never occurred to me. And then when I saw that indie comic, I thought, okay, I'll give it a try. Paano ba to? They staple in the middle, so I got some bond paper stapled in the middle, and then I started drawing in a pencil, and it was a, it was kind of a Beauty and the Beast kind of story with like a big ugly robot falling in love with a pretty girl, something like that.
Do you still have that? Have you
I
kept
have
it
no
all
idea
these
where it
years?
is. I don't
What?
know. It could be in my file somewhere. It could be gone.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah, that'll be wonderful to share. That'll be wonderful to read again. Just to not just to share, with yourself and to rediscover. I guess that would be something that would reinvigorate your love for the craft. And if in case there were times that and some artists would do that. If there are days where you don't feel that creative, you'll just pull up something from your past or and just look at it and mine that experience and how it was to when you first created it. So who knows?
Well,
Good.
maybe
Yeah,
either
yeah.
that or I read it and I say this isn't as good as I remember.
Well, at
I
least you
remember
have
this being
proof.
so much better. Yeah,
At least you have proof. That's the
for good or
important
for
thing.
bad.
Yeah, yeah. Tapos i-auction natin yan. Nah. And then make a lots of money from it. But I was
Oh,
wondering,
I
what kind of
wish.
comics do you prefer reading back in the day? Are you more DC or Marvel? Sorry, I just had to ask.
Whatever was available.
Whatever was.
Uh, when I was a kid, I grew up in Pampanga, so there are no comic shops. Whatever
Okay.
comics I was able to read then outside of school, outside of the school library was whatever my dad would bring home. Like sometimes there's like a black market thing in Dau, nearby
Mm-hmm.
town. You could
Yeah.
buy PX goods. It's when they still called it PX goods.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Basically, just imported stuff, which was hard to get back then unless you knew people or knew where to go. And that place was where you went for PX goods, and there would be comics also there. So whatever he would bring home, there was GI Joe, the Nam, Kool Aid Man comics.
Yep.
Um, it could be anything. So I would read that. And when I started when I started studying, I moved to Manila uh, for high school. That's when I started having an allowance and being able to buy my own comics. And let's see, I was more of a Marvel guy. I think I Spider-Man,
Okay.
X-Men. That was me. Although
Oh,
my favorite character of all time is wasn't still Superman, but for some reason I wasn't buying his comics at the time. Uh, it was Marvel, and then Image came out, and
yeah.
then I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna be rich. I'm gonna buy all the number ones, and then I'm gonna sell them when I'm older. Then I'm gonna be rich, and you don't know what happened there.
If we can all hop into our own personal DeLorean and go back in time and do that, why not?
Well, we
Why
did
not?
though. I had Spawn number one. I had
There you
Jim
go.
Lee's X Men number one. They're not much. They're not worth much now. I think though.
Uh, you never know. You never know. Best way to, I don't know, up the level or the value of that is go to SDCC, have it signed by Jim Lee, and then pagyabang mo. Yun na yun.
He'd
And while you
probably
work,
enjoy the fact that he'd probably enjoy the fact
the
that it was like actually read and not just kept in a
yeah,
mylar
that's right.
sleeve.
That's right. Yeah, and he probably would be surprised. Oh, someone still has it, and someone who's not from the U.S. But while your work doesn't really feature any superhero that we know of or that we've grown accustomed to reading or seeing in cinemas,
Not yet.
would you think that there's an oversaturation already of that kind of storytelling in the medium?
Ooh, we just finished watching the latest Nick Fury. What was his series?
Oh God,
Secret
Secret
Invasion.
Invasion. Yes.
And
Ah,
me and the kids were talking about why. Why is it like this now? Is it oversaturation? Mm, I don't think the problem is oversaturation. I think the problem is just the level of quality. I mean,
okay.
we don't complain like there's too much good TV. You just say, "Wow, it's a golden age. We're so lucky. There's so many good shows to watch."
Yeah, you never run out of
So
content in this age, in this
yeah,
generation.
so if it's good, you don't mind that there's too much of it. I think that's not the problem. Isn't the oversaturation? The problem is the quality.
And the time that you need to watch all of them.
Also, yeah, the time investment.
That you have to balance everything off. And yeah, I certainly have issues regarding Secret Invasion as well. And for those who know me and for those who've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But that's we're not here to talk about the MCU. We're here to talk about you.
I want to say one thing. I want to say one thing about the MCU shows, the TV
Mm,
shows in particular.
okay.
If anyone from Marvel is watching, please stop putting everything important in the last episode. Like everything that's actually important and cool and nice, they always happen in only the last episode. The first few episodes are always build up,
Yeah,
and then
it's always
everything's
build
in
up,
the
build up.
last episode. Please stop doing that. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, do something different. Maybe
Yeah,
do something retroactive. Give us the
yeah,
action in the first two episodes and then work your way around, backwards or something. I don't know. Just change the timeline.
yeah.
Okay.
There's some things
Yeah.
that happen in the finale that say, "Oh, this would have been so cool if it happened in episode three." Something like that. But
Yeah.
it always. My theory is um, that's how they coordinate things. They always talk about like for this show what happens in the finale because it has to tie into the next one, and
Yeah.
then
It's always
this
that.
last episode has to tie into the next one. So that's how they do things. That's why it's always crammed into the last episode.
Right. That's their working formula,
Yeah.
so to speak. Yeah. But going back to your first work was, as we referenced earlier, was called a Mascot. And
Mhm.
without spoiling, can you tell us what the comic and the film is all about?
It tells the story of a disgruntled fast food worker. You know how during birthday parties, it's always one of the crew gets inside the costume and has to dance and has to perform. So it's one of those guys, but he's not happy, and it's like an exaggerated like this. His job is not fun. These days
Okay.
they go viral because they're funny and they're good, but in this version, the kids are terrible, and he's not happy with his job. The boss is an a hole, And then after that, he gets stuck in his costume, and he gets a chance to literally escape the store. He sneaks out, and then he has like a day out. He has his adventures stuck in his costume all the while, and then there's things that happen, and you know, that's the
Okay.
gist.
That must have been one of the proudest moments in your life to have your work adapted like that, and
Oh,
so viewed by international audiences. Will
I'm
there be
still
future
talking about
screen?
it a decade later.
There you go. And we will still be talking about it for sure a decade after. Will
I
there
hope.
be future? Yeah, there for sure, for sure, for sure. Will there be future screenings again, perhaps for this locally or abroad?
I haven't talked with the filmmakers, but I it's on YouTube actually. So
Okay.
if people want to watch it, there's a link. I can send you the link, and you can post it in the show notes or something.
Oh yeah, yeah. We can do that. We can do that. All right. I
But
would
as for
be
screenings,
more than happy to.
I don't know. I haven't been told.
Lapa. All right. Sige. But at least it's on YouTube, and it's for sharing. Everyone else can watch it there.
Yeah.
Your second work is called School Run, and that's set here locally. It's about zombies this time,
Yep. Yep.
which I so need to get a copy of it as well. Is the mascot still available as a as
Uh,
in print?
Occasionally, I still bring it out during conventions if I have
Okay.
copies. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Then I will definitely get that as well as School Run when I see you in another edition of Comic
All
Con,
right.
which I think we'll have sometime in October.
Yeah, I think there's in October. I think there's also a pickoff in September. I think
Yeah, there's
so.
also another one in September.
Basta
So
bear.
yeah, exactly. Mr. Burma. All right, I'll see you then.
Yeah.
So again, your second work is called School Run. It's about zombies, and I hope they're. I wonder what is it about zombies that we sort of like fell down the rabbit hole regarding it. I mean, Korea is in no short supply of zombie-related movies and
Yeah.
content.
Yeah. Yeah. Zombies are
Makes,
still cool in Korea.
di ba? It makes me feel like sila yata nagpasimuno nito. They
Yeah,
started it.
they've been killing it. Yeah, with Train to
Yeah.
Busan, Kingdom, and now there's. Have you watched Zombie Verse? There's a like a.
Not yet. I saw that. I saw that, but I fell on a different rabbit hole. I'm
It
rewatching.
happens.
Yeah, I'm rewatching Batwoman.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
The
I'm
controversial. Uh,
Yes.
is it CW?
CW. Yeah, it stopped
Controversial.
already for 3 seasons, but I still enjoy the character. I enjoyed season one,
Uh-huh.
and I'm rewatching from season two onwards.
How
I
do you
don't know if
feel
you're.
about how do you feel about them changing the main character actress?
Um, they justified it because, well, I don't know. It might be a spoiler to you if you haven't seen it or you plan to watch it. But
No.
they no, but they changed the person who gets to wear the suit. But Kate
I
Kane, it's still Kate Kane, but in this time
okay.
around, it's a character named Brian Wilder, and they set it up for her to wear the suit instead of Kate Kane. So in terms of changing the ethnicity, it's justified because it's a different person wearing the suit.
Right.
But they did not change Kate Kane and make her, you know, um, a, an actress of color or a person of color or a character of color. That's another thing that I've noticed in comics of late, that they will just change a character's ethnicity because I don't know, woke,
Yeah.
or and they're also start changing a character's sexual orientation because of of
They
relevance,
just
because
want
we
to. Yeah.
yeah, they just want to. So I don't know why. I mean, I have nothing against diversification and representation. That's all great. That's all great. But wouldn't it be much better if you start from the ground up and
Yeah.
create a new character instead?
Yeah. Not just
Instead,
a token.
not just that. So just I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels the same way. But we see that in movies, and comics are no
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
By the way,
So
this character is bi now. Things like that.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'll just be surprised. Like Connor. I was like,
Just a little side
why?
comment.
Yeah, son of Kal-El, we're looking at you. But we're going back, writing, writing and creating things from what you've been influenced since you were a kid is also important to, I think, to write what you know. And I know people's opinion will differ on this. And what we know in the local market is, of course, our own history, our own folklore, and perhaps something that needs to be updated. They say for the ever-changing modern market or modern reader, which is why I so enjoyed your comic entitled Aswang High. Title pa
Thank
lang,
you.
we kind of like know what it's all about, but just in case for people who don't know, what is the comic all about, and how did you come to write it?
Okay, Aswang High is it's a fish out of water story where the usual trope where the protagonist has no powers and then he goes to a school for special children. In this case, it's a high school for Aswang and other mythological creatures. And then he has adventures there and discovers that he's not as unexceptional as he thought he was.
Yeah, exactly. Did you take anything from perhaps your own school experiences growing up and incorporated that into the comic?
Well, of course, I don't think. Well, okay. I don't think anyone actually had a good time in high school. That's my personal thought. I
Nah,
know that's not
nah.
true, just based on my
Um,
own
I had
experience.
some bad days, but I had some good days as well. But we try not to harp on the bad days. But yes, there were bad days.
We just turned them into art.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah,
Yeah,
it was a lot of like, of course, the things that you go through in high school, and I don't know, it's just such an important part of determining who you are that your experiences stay with you, and yeah, you just try to find the funny and find the sad in things, and then just put them in the story.
put them in a best-selling comic. Yeah, why not?
Best selling,
Oo, para
I
sa
hope
akin
so.
best-selling 'yan, best-selling 'yan. Affirm na 'yan,
Thanks.
affirm na, affirm na. Kung
Check yung sales niya sa Lazada.
if anyone wants to differ, ito panghampas 'to, yeah. Hampas
There it
natin.
is.
Hampas natin.
Look for it
Yes,
at comic
exactly.
conventions.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's what it looks like. Yeah,
Art by Cy
okay.
Vendeville.
Yes, by Simon Deville. And of course there is the seal, peacock. Okay.
The selection.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. I loved how the comic opened with the main character Abel, and
Mm-hmm.
Abel pagka if you're here in the Philippines, but if you're in the US, it's Abel,
Yun nga eh. Yun nga
di
eh.
ba? But
There's
yeah, I love how his character opens the show, the story, and his mom, watching a recording that his dad made for him. It seems that he has a tape for every year that Abel turns older at the start, and at that time that we open in the story, he just turned 13. So, question: are there more tapes? And up until which year of his life did Abel's father make those tapes, or is that too spoilerish to ask?
not a spoiler because I also don't know. Well,
Okay, good.
he's sick. He's sick, so he's making these tapes. He doesn't think he'll live to see his kid grow up, so he's making a bunch
Okay.
of tapes. So we can assume that those tapes are for like the rest of Abel's life.
Okay. So 1 year for every
There's
and one
lots.
tape for every year, that is. Yeah.
Yeah,
And as his mom say, I don't know if it's still working because we only use the Betamax once a year. Betamax talaga, no?
Betamax. I grew up with Betamax. Sorry, VHS people.
Yeah, we all
Betamax
did.
kami.
Oo, Betamax tayong lahat, di ba?
Yeah,
Star Wars was the first Betamax I've ever,
was it?
received. Yeah, well, yeah,
Nice.
it was.
Good one to
So
start with.
exactly, mom gave that to me as a birthday present, and I know I kept that just for
Nice.
posterity's sake. So I will have to look for it and see if it's kung hindi na siya inamag because of storage and all that. But reading
Analog
that,
school again.
yeah, exactly. Analog's always been cool. Reading that kind of like struck a chord for me because my dad passed away before I began my artistic endeavor, and I was wondering if your dad or any of your parents influenced you when it came to reading or when it came to the arts.
Um, they influenced me by providing me with lots of material. Um, back in
Buying
the
it for
80s,
you.
yeah, when they would be traveling salesmen selling encyclopedias door to door.
Mm,
Yeah, we had one of those, and they were on layaway. You paid for them like in installments, and so uh, they allowed me to like really expand my knowledge and my imagination with stuff. So
yeah, so that's their contribution.
mhm.
I like also reading about Abel's vulnerability. As you said, the story is a fish out of water story, and he needed to adapt to his surroundings in school. How important was it for you to show his vulnerability? And was there ever a point when you thought of maybe you could change things up and make him smug because he was the only human there, only to learn a lesson in humility and humanity by the end of the graphic novel?
Interesting. I never thought of it that way. I always thought that siya yung ape. He was the one always getting marginalized. I never
Okay.
thought that, yeah, he would be special. That make him kind of like a human supremacist, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. A human supremacist. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, never crossed my mind. But yeah, I guess you. Oh, hey, I'm putting that in.
Oh,
I'm gonna.
sige.
That's
Parallel Earth na ito.
yeah. That's a good angle. I never thought of it. Yeah. I mean, a person who'd go to an Aswang school would kind of think of themselves as superior, wouldn't they? Because they won. They beat Aswang.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but if it
Interesting.
were me, I probably would not. I'd probably be more. Yeah, I'm the odd man out, and you can do things that I can't. Paturo
Yeah.
naman. Ako ganun eh.
Yeah, no, he is the powerless one in that situation.
Yeah,
Aswang
exactly.
have like
Right,
powers and
right.
claws and teeth and
Yeah, you can
well,
fly.
boy.
Tell me how. Marunong ka mangkulam. Tips naman. Ganun.
Ako,
um,
pinahomework mo sa kulam.
yeah, exactly. I also love how you change things up because we usually read about school situations like that with Vampire School. There's Vampire Academy by Rachel Mead. How they bicker amongst themselves. There's also Wizarding School as well. Thank you, J.K. Rowling.
Mhm.
So to have something like that that's reversed and set here and featuring our own mythological creatures is a step in the right direction, I guess. In terms of introducing our own mythos to international readers. And speaking of international, your comic, kasasabi lang natin kanina, pero kailangan ko itaas uli, was selected to be part of the first Philippine International Comics Festival, or PICOF.
Yeah.
Again, the seal is here. How did you come to be part of the festival, or can anyone just submit in the hopes of getting shortlisted?
Yes, anyone can submit. They Comic Cat, if you follow Comic Cat on their social media, they put out announcements every year.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I don't know if they're doing it next year, but for a span of several years, they put out announcements, and anyone can submit, pitch their stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and if Comic Cat likes it, you're in. They'll publish it, they'll feature it in the comics festival, and they'll sell it for you. So
Okay.
yun. Personally, me, I was selling with Comic Cat since way before, so they knew me personally, and they reached out to me when they first thought up the idea of a international festival with literature selections, and they said, "Hey, if you have any idea, just send us the pitch, and if you like it, we'll publish it." So I sent them this.
Mm, okay. Two questions. Can you send? What if you only have like one issue and not a collected graphic novel like this? And number two, it has to be comics. You can't send it in print form with no drawing, no nothing, right?
When I made my pitch, all I had was a story idea
Okay.
and some sketches. That's it.
All right.
If you
Oh.
can sell them the pitch, they'll give you X number of months or years to actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't need. It's not like submitting to a regular publisher where you have to have like half of it's finished, certain
Yeah.
percentage of it's finished. You can work with just the pitch and some sketches. Although I think having pages would be enough. If they don't know you,
Yeah.
if they haven't seen your work, if you don't have like a body of work, you can show them that I can pull this off. It would probably help to have some pages. But if you already have, if you're a known quantity and they know that you can do the work, I think just the pitch and sketches I think would be enough.
Okay. But they will be the ones to publish it.
Yeah, they'll publish it
Okay. All right. Okay.
and
That
sell it.
answers and sell it. Of course, that
Yeah.
answers my question. This reminds me also of a question that I asked somebody recently. And is there some sort of legal representation for comic book writers here in the country? Because in the U.S., there's the Comic Magazine Association of America, or CMMA, which was a precursor organization for the Comic Codes Authority back in the 40s. But do we have something akin to that here that's formed by the government or even supported by it? And if there's none, is the local comics community doing something to create awareness for that need?
By the government, not that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was talk of setting up what do you call those groups that you vote for that are special interest groups? I'm sorry, what do you call those
Mm.
again? In the local, I'm blanking out. But basically, from the government, as far as I know, there's nothing. There's
There's
not
none.
much
Okay.
support. The
Mm-hmm.
people, the support that I've felt in the years past have so far come from artists coming together.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, it's usually publishers themselves that advocate for artist rights. So Comic Cat has been very proactive. They've been very open about their contracts and how they're keeping steps, making steps to keep things fair for everyone. Comic Con has been um,
Right.
fighting for artist rights from the beginning. Also, there's CCAP, which
Mm-hmm.
is also another artist. Well, not artist group. They're industry professionals, and they're also trying to help people like develop and profit from their IP.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so um, that's it as far as I know. Y- yeah, that's about it as far as I know. SICAP, that's SIKAP. They're on Facebook.
SIKAPF. All right.
Yeah,
SIKAP.
you can check them out. You can follow things they do. They also offer. They do things like animation workshops. They'll help you pitch your animation to international markets, things like that.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's IP. Basically, comics is these days people think of comics as an IP farm. Uh, it is that. There's a lot of potential in that, especially since Trece got on Netflix,
Yeah.
and Filipinos are being more visible in pop culture in
Mm-hmm.
general, and Filipino work, Filipino food, Filipino culture. So it's a good time to like bridge that gap between like
Yes.
Filipino comics creators and then big money,
Yeah.
foreign market representation. So yeah, that's a good question. Thanks for asking it, and hopefully we see some more improvement in that field.
Hopefully. Hopefully.
Yeah,
Hopefully. Fingers crossed. And anyone who's watching this episode, yeah, if you feel that comic book writers, need representation, and the question also came up because as a creator myself, I've also thinking and seeing there are so many different associations in the U.S. If you write horror, there's HWA, that's
mhm,
Horror Writer Association of America. There's also RWA, Romance Writers of America. So there's so many associations like that by way of genre or by way of the kind of content that you create. So hopefully, anyone who's thinking of setting something like that would be would think that we need it, right?
yeah.
That creators need to be protected, and creators needed to be their work also needs to be maybe not the word regulated, but at least standardized in some way, that that everything that is produced is at par and in quality and worthy of submission. anywhere else in the world. And every creator will always need a bigger audience. And going digital these days, that certainly has afforded creators to reach a bigger audience than before. Do you still get feedback from readers that comics should be in print and not in digital format?
There was a thing like back in the early 2000s about that. About people were webcomics were still new, and people were arguing whether we should let go of print or print is dying. No print's here to stay. I think I think media changes, and
Mm-hmm.
people have to stay on top of things or get left behind. So if paper is hard to get, paper is more expensive, and if people are reading things on screens, it's up to us to adapt and put our stuff on the screen. Sure, okay, tradition is great, and true, there's nothing like holding a book, um, but we can't just nail ourselves down to one medium and
Yeah.
say, I love print so much, I'm not going to put my stuff online. You're, well, I guess that's, you get to decide where you put your art. But
Mm-hmm.
personally, for me, I want my stuff to be read. So I'm following the eyeballs where they go. If
Yeah.
they're online, I try to put my stuff online. Um, really, that's it. I just try to follow where the readers are. I don't give much thought to like the tradition or the trends or whatever, but um, yeah. Oh, I wanted to make a point about what you were saying earlier. It's such a great time to be a creator these days. Some of the people that I see making comics, they will. There's this thing on Twitter. I forget what you call it. It's like it's a hashtag, and it puts together artists and art agents. So you
Mm-hmm.
post your work on Twitter or something with that hashtag, and then agents see it, and if they like your work, boom, you've got an agent. It's pretty
Oh,
amazing.
wait, is that the one wherein you sort of like it's a hashtag that you use to pitch your stuff on?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's that, right? Yeah.
They have it like a once a year or something, or a
Yeah.
specific time frame. And I know some people who found agents in the U.S. that way. There are people who just find publishers just because the publisher saw their stuff online, and it's an amazing tool, the internet for creatives. I mean, although it is a two-edged sword with AI and everything and artistic theft, but
Yep. Yep.
you
Yep.
know, it's the Wild West. You can prosper, you can die, but it's an amazing time to be a creative right now.
Right. You mentioned AI, and that's actually one of the things I was going to ask you. That's my next question. A lot of artists are up in arms about it, and others don't necessarily view it as a threat, but merely as a tool that complements or enhances their work. So I was wondering, what's your take on AI?
Um, I'm with the people who are scared of it.
Okay.
Just because the human race has a very poor track record with things that are too powerful for them to control. We
Mm-hmm.
haven't been too good with like weapons and technology that destroys our environment. So I really think that AI in the hands of the wrong people is super dangerous, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a very good chance that bad people are getting their hands on it. But as for how it relates to art, I'm doing like my absolute minimum, try to keep up with the changes now. And apparently AI is really funny now these days. Like
Mm-hmm.
Chat GPT, they're asking it to write jokes, and apparently it can make pretty good jokes.
Yeah.
So like I'm amazed at what it does, but um, I'm also scared of what it can do. Will AI replace like actual artists? I don't think so, because we don't just I don't think that we just read to be entertained. We also read because we want to connect with the other person on the other side of that work.
Hmm.
You know, like when we read a Neil Gaiman book, we read a Neil Gaiman book, we just don't. We're not just interested in the actual book. We want to feel that connection with Neil. Neil, first name basis. We want to feel, uh, yeah, we want to feel that connection with another human. And I don't think unless like the next generation doesn't care about that anymore, and they're perfectly fine with uh, dealing with AI as other humans. So I don't know. I really don't know. It's an
Uh,
amazing time.
right. It is. It is. I guess only time will tell. How AI is going to be used, and hopefully, it will be used to make things better for creatives and make things better for people, and and not the way the other way around.
Yeah.
Um, when you write a story or when you try to create a comic, which one comes first for you? Does a character need to be drawn out first before you can begin drafting your story, or sometimes it goes hand in hand?
In my experience, I never know what our new story is going to start with. It can start with a character, an event, just an idea, just a
Hmm.
mental image, like something like School Run, which oh, by the way, it's art. The art is being done by RD Aquino,
Okay.
and so it's about a zombie story. But how it started was with Ondoy,
All right.
because we had that like biblical flood, and
Mm-hmm.
people were. And then the day after Ondoy, I went outside our village to just look at the damage. And there was mud everywhere, and there were people carrying stuff on their backs, people in the streets walking slowly somewhere. I don't know where they were going. And there's vehicles stopped in the road. And there's this feeling of helplessness and destruction. And what are we going to do? It was very post apocalyptic. And that was the time. During that time, my kids were going to school, and I was the one driving them to school. So um, that was also in my mind, like, how are we going to get to school? What's it going to be like from now on? We have no idea. This has never happened before. And so yeah, that's how the story. That's how I put all of that into a zombie story of like. There's this destruction, and then what are Filipinos going to do about it? What we've always done, we just kind of live through it, just kind of
Yeah.
survive it and make the best of it. And um, that's so that's how that story started. It wasn't like me sitting down in front of a blank screen saying, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna write about now? It's always something that it can. You never know what it is, but you know that you have to develop a sense of this is something that I can work with, and I'll follow it and I'll see where it
Hmm.
goes. So yeah, that's for me. That's the definition of creative, the creative process. It's knowing when you have something that's worth developing and following it, even if you don't know where it leads.
Right. And it also goes without saying that there has to be a sense of openness to it as well,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because if you're the kind of person, or if you think that creativity is something that you have to run after, just like earning your first million, um, that's gonna be a that's really gonna be a
that's
tough
hard.
hill
Yeah,
to climb.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a
So
hard time doing it the way I do it now. I mean, I can't imagine just getting trying to psych yourself up that much
yeah,
for
yeah, exactly. Um, and that's the good thing also about inspiration. They say that if when inspiration hits, it's like trying to keep a lightning bolt in a bottle. Yeah, the lightning bolt never strikes a lot of never strikes twice, sometimes in the same area.
sometimes don't
or
see the lightning bolt.
or sometimes, yeah, it's not even the lightning bolt. It might I don't know, it might even be the speed force. Who knows? But if there is an idea, for creatives out there who are thinking of of venturing into this and wondering, do I have what it takes to be a creative? Well, if you do have an idea that's worth exploring, then give it some time.
Yeah,
Give it,
just follow it, man. Yeah.
yeah. You never know where it's going to come from, and
Mhm.
you never know also how the public is going to react to it. I mean, great if you have friends who can be your beta readers. Not
Yeah.
everyone is beta readers, but yeah, just stay true to that process, and discovering, your own process along
I,
the way.
I think people who are trying to, I think like non-creative people who are starting on their journey to become creative, or like creative people just starting to, be more creative. I think one of the problems that they face is they're so afraid to make a mistake and to fail
Mm,
and to be bad.
yeah.
And personally, I've been kind of clueless about. I've been lucky that my personality type is just kind of reckless, and I'm perfectly fine with making a mistake, screwing up. I'll say a joke because I think it's funny, and then realize later it was a bad joke and I shouldn't have said it. But I do try to say the joke to get the funny. And you just gotta be willing to fail and to do a bad job at first, because that's
Hmm.
how you get to succeed later and do better later, just by being bad at first. That's a
Yeah,
really
yeah, yeah.
important thing.
I agree. I agree. Any advice for aspiring creatives out there who are listening or watching us today?
Be bad. Don't be afraid to suck at
There
first.
you go.
That's one thing that that's one thing that got me into comics at first,
Hmm.
because there was this independent comics movement. If it was just actual publishers, I never would have started because I didn't think I could compete with other people out there. But because there was Comic Con, there was this independent comic scene where anyone could sell their comics at a convention. I wasn't afraid to make my stupid, ugly comics and just try to see if anyone liked them. And that's been a blessing to me, and it's worked out for me. I was able to work with other people to fill in my weaknesses. That's why
Hmm.
I'm collaborating with other artists now. Um, and yeah, just start doing your stuff. That's all you're ever gonna hear from other artists. Just do it, just make it, just do it,
Yeah,
forget
just do
about it.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Do what Shia LaBeouf tells you to. Just do it.
don't make your
Right.
dreams your dreams.
Yes. Or if you prefer Palpatine, do it. Talaga kailangan isingit ang Star Wars. Hindi mawawala.
Make
Um,
your comic now.
yes,
Submit it.
yes. Yeah, that
It's
pwede
not
yun.
that bad. It's not as bad as you think.
Yep. And if you have Force Lightning, hey, call us. We want to know how you do it.
Get to work. Where's your draft?
Yeah, where's your draft? True, true. Is there also a time that you feel that you're more productive? In the morning, in the afternoon, mid morning, or late at night when everyone else is asleep?
I get my best ideas when I'm kind of doing something but not paying much attention to it. So
Okay.
when I'm in a vehicle on a long trip, when I'm on the toilet, when I'm like outside doing like shopping, or I'm looking at the people in the palenque, and I see like a face that looks nice, and I get like story ideas. You can never tell, but personally for me, it's like when it's like leaving the subconscious alone for a little bit, let it do its thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm one of those like waiting for the ideas to come kind of guys, instead of like someone who actually works hard and try to get things on paper. I kind of wait for the good ideas to come, and then I start working.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Well, to each his own process, and whatever it is that your process has worked well for you all out there, then do that, mine it, protect your
Yeah.
process, as they say, or if not, protect your peace because that is yours. And if you keep at it, hopefully by blood, sweat, and tears, you'll have something to show. And we would love to meet you at comic book conventions.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's next on the horizon for you? Hopefully, book two.
Oh yes. That's definitely in the plan.
Hmm.
Book two, and but we'll probably be doing it in smaller installments, like physical pamphlet copies. Like each chapter, we'll be releasing it that way instead of an
Okay.
actual book.
All right.
So, you know.
Okay. Well, I can't wait. I can't wait for that because we were left with questions at the end of book one. So you will have to read book one yourself in order to know what those questions are. And if they want to get a copy of this and they missed out on the previous comic yet, or they're not able to go to the next comic yet, where can they get this?
It's on Shopee and Lazada. I
All
think
right.
Comic has stores there.
Okay. All right. Shopee and Lazada. All right. Awesome. Awesome. Where can they also know more about you and your work or bug you in social media?
Oh, well, I do have social media. I don't use them much. But yeah, I do have a page on Facebook and an X account. I have an X account. I used to have a
Okay.
Twitter account. Now it's an X account.
Yep. Yep. It's an I still call it Twitter, no matter what everyone
I think
says.
everyone does, yeah.
Yeah, everybody does. All right. They'll just look for Macoy, and or if not, type Aswang High as a hashtag. They'll probably see it there as well. And we'll for to make it easier on everyone, of course, I'll put that on the show notes. Para click na lang kayo. All right.
Thanks.
So that is a wrap for today. Thank you so much, McCoy, for joining us on our fourth season, first episode. And
Pleasure.
it's
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 fun.
my pleasure to talk to you about your work, your process, and your creativity. Thank you also to Spine Books for your support since day one. Now, if in case you are a creative and you would like to be featured on the podcast, simply email us at urbanfantasyph@gmail.com. You can also follow the show on Instagram, Facebook, and me personally over at cjedmunds.com. So remember that you can create the work, the masterpiece of your dreams. You just have to start today. All right? Creatives unite and enjoy the rest of the week. Keep creating, and we will keep reading. Stay safe, stay creative. Namaste. Blessed be. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Macoy.
That was another episode of Urban Fantasy PH. Join us next time as we feature another creative soul who wants their art to be seen, heard, and shared. If you have your own work to share, just email us at urbanfantasyph@gmail.com. Through the next episode, this is independent author, singer-songwriter, radio personality, voice actor, and fellow creative, CJ Edmunds, reminding you to always listen to your heart, create with your mind, and share with your soul. Goodbye, everybody. Namaste. Blessed be.